QBO Gym, and this is where we have numerous hands-on exercises that simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. Each month covers a variety of new topics and scenarios, and to make it a little bit easier for you, we break it down into 4 different sections. So if you are looking to work on your bookkeeping skills, this is the place for you. And if you'd like to do an entire month's worth of these all on your own, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. But let's get into today's exercise, which is being pulled from our July Year 1 Strength Training section, where we really focus on locations and classes. At the top here is an animated video to give you a synopsis of what is going on in Craig's world this month. He is our fictitious business owner. Further down is an interactive pre-assessment quiz that does relate to the video up above. Below that are the exercises that are in this section. And at the bottom here is an optional area where after you have gone through all of these exercises and completed them, you will unlock some sample marketing posts that you can use on your LinkedIn to share with everyone what you have learned so far. So let's dive into today's exercise where we are going to practice setting up a new location. Go ahead and click on that to have the exercise pulled up for you. I have it over here on the right side of my screen, so let's read through the scenario. Business is booming, so Craig has decided to open another location. This location will have the same name, but it will handle its own invoicing. So the new address, as well as a different phone number and email address, will need to be on all his sales forms. So let's see how to set this up. You will need to be in the sample company to do this exercise. If you are not sure how to get into the sample company or get your own free QBOA account, be sure to click on the link in the description. I have the sample company pulled up here on the left side of my screen. This is the dashboard and what it will look like when you sign in. And as an important note here, you will need to keep this session of the sample company open for all of the strength training and cool down exercises. There's a total of 6 of them. And that is because all of those exercises build on each other. So you need to make sure you're in the same session the entire time. So let's go ahead and get started with the exercise. The first thing that we need to do is turn on the locations feature. So we're going to click on the gear icon and then select account and settings. So the gear icon is on the top right corner of the screen. Click on that. And then we're going to select account and settings. Go ahead and click on that. We want to get to the advanced tab. So the advanced tab is over here on the left side. It's the very last one. Go ahead and click on that. And then in the categories section, which is the 4th one down, you want to click anywhere in it to make it editable. And then we want to click on the sliders next to track locations so that it turns on. So click on that slider right there. It will turn green, which indicates that it's turned on. We're going to leave this location label drop down as is and just click on save. Go ahead and click on that. And you can see now that track locations has been turned on. So we're all good here. Let's go ahead and click on the green Done button. That's on the bottom right corner of the screen. Click on that. And now we're going to set up the locations. So once again, we're going to click on that gear icon and this time click on all lists. So the gear icon once again, and then under lists, you're going to select all lists. We want to click on locations to get to that area. So that is on this column. Go ahead and click on it once you find it. And as you can see, there are no current locations that are set up. Now, there are 2 ways we could handle the main office location. One option would be to create a location for both the main office and the new office. Since currently all of the transactions in the system are for the main office, if you did this, you would have to change the location of all existing transactions. This is certainly doable using the Reclassify feature and something you may want to consider for the future. For the purposes of this exercise, though, we will only be creating the new location. We'll see later how this affects reports and what we might want to do differently. We're going to call this new office East. So we're going to click on the new button, which is the green button on the top right corner. Click on that. In the name field, let's go ahead and type East. We need to change the location. So we're going to click on the checkbox next to this location has a different address, which is the 1, 2, 3, fourth one down right here. Click on that checkbox. Then we need to update the current address that is showing here. This is the main location with the east location. So that will be 456 12th Street Northwest is going to go on that first line. So delete what is currently there and then go ahead and type that in. 456 12th Street Northwest. And this is in Albany, New York. So let's delete what is currently there and type Albany, New York. And then the zip code is 12212. 12212, and this is what it will look like when you have updated the address. Now we also need to update the email address. So we're going to click on the checkbox next to this location has a different email address for communicating with customers, which happens to be the next one down there. So go ahead and click on that. We're going to leave this default address, email address as is for the purposes of this exercise. But in real life, if you're updating it, you'd want to do it here in this field. And finally, we're going to change the phone number. So we're going to click on the checkbox next to this location has a different phone number where customers can phone me. It is the last one on this list. Click that checkbox and then let's update the phone number to be 212-555-1212. So click into that box and then go ahead and type that in. I missed a 5. So 212-555-1212. And then once you've done that, go ahead and click on the green save button. And you will see now that our East location has been created and saved. Next, we will assign a few existing transactions to East. We could open each transaction and change it there. For the purposes of this exercise, though, we're going to use the Reclassify tool. So we're going to click on Accountant Tools and then click on Reclassify Transactions. So Accountant Tools is on the top of the screen. Click on that. And then under Tools, select Reclassify Transactions. Now, there is one customer, Pies Cakes, that will need to be reclassified to the East Coast location. QBO defaults to just look at last month. As you know, though, if you've worked in the sample company, the dates are always changing. So to find this transaction easily, we're going to use an entire year for this search. If you get this little pop out here, you are welcome to close out of it. My screen is shortened, and so just getting rid of it is making it a little bit easier for you to see my screen now. So in the From field, we want to change the year to last year. So go ahead and click into it. If you click into it 2 times, you can just update that year. Your date may be different, and that's totally fine as long as you change the day or the year, excuse me, to last year. In the To field, we're going to change the date to today's date. So the easiest way to do that is just to click into it and then type a lowercase t. And when you type that t, it will default to today's date. So your date may be different, and that's totally fine. Just make sure that it is today's date. Now, since we're looking for Pies Cakes, let's go ahead and narrow the search down. In the customer vendor field, let's go ahead and select their name. So that is right here. Click into it. You can click the down arrow and then scroll until you find Pies Cakes. And then we're going to click on Find Transactions. Go ahead and select that. And it looks like that we have 2 transactions associated with Pies Cakes. We're going to click on the checkbox at the top of the grid to select both of the transactions and then click on Reclassify. So that box, that checkbox is right there. Go ahead and click on that and then click on Reclassify. And in the Change Location To field, we want to select East. So that is the second one down here. Click the down arrow, go ahead and select East, and then click on Apply. And now that has been applied to those transactions have been applied to that East location. Now, there is also one vendor, Hall Properties, that will need to be reclassified to the East Coast location. So let's narrow the search and find just theirs. In that customer vendor field, we're once again going to open it up and we're going to look for Hall Properties this time. Now, as a note here, as you click down on this, if you scroll just a little bit and you don't see it here, that is because all of the customers are listed first. So you have to keep scrolling down to get to the vendors. Once you find Hall Properties, go ahead and select it. And then again, we're going to click on Find Transactions. Go ahead and click on that. And it looks like there is only one bill here associated with Hall Properties. So let's click on that checkbox right next to it and then click on Reclassify. Once again, we are going to, in that change location to field, select East and then click on Apply. So click the down arrow, go ahead and select East, and then go ahead and click on Apply. And you could see now that the location has been changed to East. And as a just quick note here, as you noticed when I had created the location, it was a capital E and then lowercase AST. For whatever reason in the sample company here, it defaults to like all lowercase, but that doesn't mean that we did anything wrong. It's just a glitch in the sample company. So just keep that in mind as you're going through if you're confused as to why it looks like that, even though we formatted it in a different way. All right, so now that you have reclassified old transactions, let's create some new ones. So let's start with an invoice. To create an invoice, we're going to click on the plus new button and then select invoice. So the plus new button on the top left corner of the screen, click on that, and then under customers, select invoice. And when it comes up for us, there we go, you will notice that even before you enter any information here on the invoice, the location right here is showing as East. This is because East is the last location that we used. When we were reclassifying that last one for Hall Properties, we reclassified it to the East location. So it was the last thing that we had done that involved the location, and so that's why it is showing up here. In this exercise, that was when you were reclassifying, but it will be true no matter what you are doing. So even though that was the example that we just did, no matter what you're doing, if you're using something with locations, the last one that you used will show up when you're doing something like an invoice here. Locations are not tied to customers or vendor addresses, only the last location that was used when you're doing things in QBO. So just keep that in mind if you're using locations. It's really important to pay attention and have that high attention to detail so that you can make sure that you're using the correct location when you're doing things for clients. So let's go ahead and start an invoice. We're going to do this one for pies, cakes. So go ahead and in that customer field, select their name. You can either click the down arrow and scroll down to find it, or you can type in their name. Either way is perfectly fine. Once you find it, go ahead and select their name, and you will see their information will appear for us. And the location will default to that last location used. It is not associated with that customer address, so just be sure to check this each time. Just reiterating what we were just saying, what I was just saying a minute ago. So let's fill out the rest of the invoice. In the product service field on the first line, we're going to select Rock Fountain. So click into that product service field and you can either click the down arrow and scroll. It is the fourth one down, or you can go ahead and type it in. Once you find it, go ahead and select it. And now let's go ahead and see what this actually looks like on the invoice. We're going to click on print or preview once and then click on it again. So print or preview is on the bottom in the middle of the black bar. Go ahead and click on that. And then you want to click on it once again from that, that drop down, I guess, or not really a drop down, the list, the list of choices you want to put it in there. All right, so if I scroll in here, zoom in, you will note that the East address, office address, excuse me, that we entered previously appears here on the invoice. The new phone number does not appear, but you could always customize your invoices to include this. Doing so is outside of the scope of this exercise, but just as a note as to why it's not showing up, that is because it is the template for this invoice does not include the phone number. So that's why you're not seeing it there, but it can be customized. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of this. Go ahead and click on the X. to close out of it. And then we're going to create an invoice for the main location, our office location next. So we're going to click on the down arrow next to Save and Send and then select Save and New. Now, as a note here in a real life scenario, you could always save and send this to your customer at this point by just clicking on Save and Send. But since you can't actually send invoices in the sample company, we are just going to go ahead and click on Save and New. So click that down arrow and then select Save and New so that we can have a brand new invoice. Here we go, all opened up for us. Now again, notice that the location field is set to East. You can see right here. And this is because the last transaction, that invoice that we just created, used the East location. This field represents Craig's location, which is the office that is sending out the invoice and will receive the payment. But Craig's customers can also have multiple locations. We saw this in that warm-up section exercise as it related to the Sunshine Family Store, where they had the 2 locations. Now, in the sample company, Freeman Sporting Goods is set up with several different locations. We're going to use only one of them for this invoice. So in the customer field, we're going to select the sub-customer Freeman Sporting Goods, the 55 Twin Lane. So click the down arrow right here. We're going to scroll until we find that Twin Lane location. Go ahead and click on that. And for this exercise, we're going to say that the invoice is coming from Craig's main office. So in the location field, we want to delete East, so it doesn't say anything at all. So click into it and then go ahead and delete it. And you can click out of it, and now no location will appear here. Let's fill out the rest of this invoice. In the product service field on the first line, we're going to select Rock Fountain. So once again, click into that product service field, click the down arrow, and the 4th one down is the Rock Fountain. Go ahead and click on that. And let's see how it looks on the invoice this time. We're going to click on Printer Preview and then click on it once again. So click on Printer Preview on that middle of the black bar, click on it once again. And this time you will note that there is no location specified, that with that no location specified, QBO is automatically defaulting back to the main office address, which is that San Pablo, California address that was originally there when we were creating that East location and we replaced it. This was the main office location. So this is what it looks like. It looks good to me. So we're going to just go ahead and click on the X to get out of this print or preview. And then we're going to click on the down arrow next to Save and New and then select Save and Close. Once again, in a real life scenario, if this was going to go to a customer, you could always click on Save and Send, but since we're not actually sending it, you can go ahead and click on Save and Close. And now that invoice has been saved. All right, so next, let's go ahead and create a bill for the new East location. We're going to click on the plus new button and then select bill. So the plus new button, once again on the top left corner, and then under vendors, we're going to select bill. Now, when this comes up, you will notice that this time there is no location selected right here. And once again, this is because your last transaction for Freeman Sporting Goods had no location. Remember, this field is for Craig's location, not the customers or vendors. The location selected in the last transaction was Craig's customer's location. So Freeman Sporting Goods, that 55 Twin Lane. And since we didn't have this field selected as East, that is why it is still blank here. So let's go ahead and fill this out. In the vendor field, we're going to select Hall Properties. So click the down arrow and then scroll, or you can type in their name. Once you find Hall Properties, go ahead and select it. Their information is going to appear for you. And then in the location field, we're going to select East. So click the down arrow, go ahead and select East. And notice that in addition to the name and address, the category details grid is automatically populated from the last bill from this vendor. This is due to a setting in the accountant settings to pre-fill data. The location is not saved, however. Even when you save this transaction, the next time you create one, it will go by the last location that you used, not the last location that is used for the vendor. I know that I keep saying it over and over again, but it's it's really important to stress that because it is that one little detail that can mess a lot of things up if you're not really paying attention in real life. So this is always going to default to the last location that is used on the previous transaction that you were creating in QuickBooks. So we're going to go ahead and close on out of this by clicking on the down arrow next to Save and New and then selecting Save and Close. And now that bill has been saved. Finally, here's how you can pay bills by location. If Craig is keeping separate bank accounts, this can be a very useful tool. We're going to click on Plus New and then click on Pay Bills. So the Plus New button on the top left corner, click on that, and then under Vendors, go ahead and select Pay Bills. Now, if the payment account field is blank, you want to select MasterCard. For me, it is showing as blank, so I'm going to click that down arrow and then select MasterCard. And then we're going to click on the filter here to filter out just the East location bills. So click on filter and then in the location field, select East. The filter is right over here. Click on that. And then location, we're going to select East. And then go ahead and click on the green Apply button. And as you can see, that bill for Hall Properties is the only one that is showing now, but it is showing it because we are just looking at the East bills. So let's go ahead and click on the checkbox next to Hall Properties. And then we're going to click on the down arrow next to Schedule Payment and then select Save and Close. So click the down arrow and then go ahead and click on Save and Close. Now that bill has been marked as paid, and that is it. That is how you would set up locations. Now, if you like this exercise and you'd like to do more like it, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. We're going to continue on, and if you want to join, be sure to leave this session of the sample company open, as you will need it for the next exercise in the strength training section, where we practice setting up classes for income transactions. And I will see you in the next video.